The next slide. So welcome everyone to tonight's webinar on our Tulane Parent Program series on move-in procedures and preparation. Now you're really eager to get this information and start making arrangements for moving your student to Tulane. I'm very happy to have my colleagues, Jay Malbrough from Mail Services and Jon Tingley from Housing and Residence Life to present this information to you tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jon Tingley, Associate Director for Facilities in Housing and Residence Life. I am the point person for move-in for our department.
I'm Jay Malbrough, Director of Mail Services, and I am in charge of dealing with packages, mail, and so forth for both move-in and throughout the entire school year.
And I'm Penny Wyatt, the Director of Parent Programs, and I'll manage the moderating the Q&A at the end.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and kick us off with some housing information. So I'm sure many of you are already familiar with our time slot process. Time slots were released on June 8th, and lots and lots of folks have already selected their time slot. So if you're one of them, congratulations, you've done that first step. The next thing that will happen that's a critical date for us is that room assignments will be sent in early July. And then right after that, Jay's team will be sending out a shipping packet, which he'll talk more about today. In that shipping packet, one of the pieces of information will be how to get things on campus. And an important date to think about is this package arrival window for in-room delivery. That's the date when your package has to arrive on campus to be put into your student's room before they arrive. So that's a very critical time window. And then, as I'm sure most of you know, our new students will be moving in between August 15th and 18th, and our returning students will move in between August 19th and 21st, so they can be ready for the first day of classes on August 23rd. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on time slots just to make sure that it's clear what the time slot actually means. So they are 30-minute windows of time, and they're dedicated to the check-in portion of move-in. So it's the time window for when you should plan to start the process, go to our check-in station, check in, and then finish move-in. It does not mean that you have 30 minutes to move in. It just means that we are expecting you to show up and check in during that 30-minute time window. And of course, folks should not make their travel arrangements until they have a time slot selected and confirmed, because the time slot indicates the day that you'll be, your student will be arriving on campus. Students can cancel and reselect a time slot if they selected one already and then find out later that that time slot doesn't work. I just want to caution folks that if you've selected already and then cancel, you'll then reselect based on availability at that time. So the longer and longer we get into summer and closer to the fall, the lower the availability of time slots will be. So it's important to start, if you've not selected a time slot already, to start thinking about that and make that time slot selection. The time slots run between 8 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. each day. So that means that our window of time for move-in is 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. That's when we'll cease our check-in operation at around 6 p.m. and move that operation to our office. And if you haven't selected a time slot yet but want to see what that process looks like, there is a video walkthrough on the Housing and Residence Life website. So after folks have selected their time slot, the next thing that happens is they receive their housing assignment in early July. Most returning students have already selected their room and have their room assignment. There may be a few exceptions to that, like folks on our guaranteed wait list, for example. But new students receive their housing assignments in early July, and those assignments take into account roommate preferences, room type preferences, etc. And those will be sent to students via email. We highly encourage students, once they get that room assignment, to start having a conversation with their roommate or suite mate and start talking about what shared items they plan to bring to campus, like TVs or other shared items, so you don't duplicate things being shipped to campus. And then some folks ask about, let's say they're not 100% happy with their room or their room assignment right when they get it. I guarantee you that all of our halls, offer a really great first year experience. So if it's about, where the building is or building location, all of our halls are a fantastic assignment. Clearly I'm biased, but I do truly believe that. But there is a room change process that begins 3 weeks after students move in, which allows students some time to really get to live in their space. Most folks haven't seen those spaces before. And then if they still aren't satisfied, they can request a room change for whatever reason. All right, I'm going to walk through a basic overview of how move-in days will work. So for folks who've experienced it before, it is a little bit different. It's a hybrid of what we've done in previous years and last year. The biggest part that is borrowed from our operation last year is a centralized check-in process. So folks will drive to a centralized location and turn onto Ben Weiner Drive. And don't worry, I'm going to visually show this to you in a second. So I'm going to run through this and then I'll show you on a map as well. But after you queue on that, the check-in queue on Ben Weiner Drive, you'll check in from your vehicle at a check-in station near the Campus Recreation Center. We will scan your student's move-in pass and give you a move-in packet that gives you access to your residence hall and the residence hall room. You'll then park, if you're driving your own vehicle or rented vehicle, in our parking structure that's located very close to that check-in station. There will be a process for folks arriving via shared car service or taxi as well. And then again, there's no time limit for how long it takes you to do your move-in after that, but vehicles that have been parked in that structure need to be gone by the end of the day so that we have space available for the next day's folks on the next day. So to visually represent that, if you look, let's see, my cursor here, this is Claiborne Avenue. That's the main highway next to campus. So folks will turn in and use Ben Weiner, this long street next to the football stadium, to queue up for check-in. And again, it's about 30 cars per time slot. That's what we're planning for. So the time slots help us limit the amount of folks who are trying to check in at one time and then limit the amount of people on campus at one time. We found that really helps make it a positive experience. Folks moving in so they're not rushing with all these people all at the same time. Once folks have made that turn, there will be a check-in station somewhere in this general area, maybe by some tennis courts that you can see on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So you'll check in from the vehicle, you'll then go and continue around making a left turn and then parking in our parking structure. So that's the check-in operation. Very easy, very simple. And then from there is where you'll go to your residence hall. We will have staff helping with wayfinding. And for folks who can't make it to their residence hall on their own, we will have transportation available for folks who cannot do it on their own. We have time slots for a reason, so it helps us control traffic flow. We won't be permitting folks to enter that queue that I just showed you before time slots begin. So if you need to be on campus before then, there will be an option for parking with limited parking before time slots begin for people who really need to be on campus. But we're asking people to try as much as possible to not come before the time slot begins. We're going to talk about our ship to room programming shortly, but we ask that students try to limit what they bring with them on their actual move-in day and as part of the check-in process, because they'll be taking those items to their residence hall from the parking structure. So it makes it easier on families to limit what they're taking with them. And again, there will be assistance available for folks who cannot walk to their building. I'm anticipating that some folks will be asking about the ability to bring guests along with move-in. I know that we restricted guests last year. We do plan to allow students to have guests help them with their move-in. That could be parents, family, anyone else who might need help with their move-in plan. Penny, did you have something to add?
I have had some parents call or email to ask about whether or not there would be additional events, including parents, during the move-in process. Since we have this move-in distributed over 4 days now, we won't have all parents with us at any one time to have any large gatherings just for parents. So we will have a parent resource fair on each of the move-in days, and that'll run from 10 a.m. to 7. And those resources will be different representatives from campus offices that you might want to connect with while you're here. If you have questions or need to follow up on something. And those that'll be staged in the Lab and Burnick Center, which is in the center of campus. So if you're still trying to arrange your travel, then you can leave at the end of your student's move-in day, or maybe you want to stay the night and leave the next day. Students have an event that they need to go to at 8 o'clock at the evening of their move-in day, and then they have another activity following that. So you really wouldn't see them after 8 p.m. So you could arrange your travel that way. I have had some parents say, a lot of parents will come in the night before the move-in day, stay at a hotel or, in some other kind of lodging. And I've just suggested to parents that if having a nice dinner out together as a family is something that you want to do during this visit, you may want to do that the night before move-in so that you're not rushed to get back to campus. And it might be a little bit that might be an easier flow of how you kind of manage your visit this time. So in lieu of any kind of big gathering for parents that we may have had in the past when move-in was kind of arranged differently, the webinars become more important, and we'll also have a series of videos for parents later in the summer. Thank you.
Penny. So again, we're going to talk about shipping to campus in just a few seconds. But basically anything that your student doesn't need to have on then during their move-in and is not a liquid or something that they can buy after they arrive on campus should really be shipped. And I know that students want to be as prepared as possible for the beginning of school and want to have everything ready to go for their room and have everything purchased. We are a relatively large city, so it's not the worst thing in the world to reduce the amount that students have on move-in day as long as they have what they need, and then maybe support them in buying things after they arrive on campus. Again, not the worst strategy because then there's not all this stuff in the room before a student has actually seen it. But we have some recommended items that things that students would want to have. Obviously, sheets are a thing that a student would want to have on their bed. And again, things like liquids and gels like laundry detergent or cleaning supplies don't really ship well. They tend to explode or get all over other things in packages, which Jay is very well versed in. And so we don't recommend that they ship those things. And then if there are things that are valuables that they don't want to ship, of course, they could bring them with them to campus for move-in day.
Yep. Okay, I can talk a little bit about, you'll be mailed a packet of shipping information in early July, shortly after you receive your housing assignment. You will be both, this will come in both the files and email with the same packet information will be sent to the student's Tulane email address at the same time. In fact, the email will probably come a day or so before the actual physical packet shows up. The packet's going to give you all the instructions you basically need, some shipping tips, some packing tips, and so forth. Just to kind of reiterate that students who ship their packages to arrive between July 14th and July 30th, meaning they're received at Tulane, will have those packages delivered to your room prior to your arrival. So they will be there when you get in. This year, we are limiting that to 6 boxes will be delivered to the room at no charge. You can ship additional boxes, but there will be a $10 fee for each additional box that is sent to campus during the shipping window. University and Student Services, who we partner with for this move-in process, is presenting a program with Pottery Barn Dorm. We will be able to purchase items through that program, and those boxes will not count against the 6. So that's an encouragement to use that service. I think they have a large selection of items and things, and I believe some information is coming out on that soon.
Yeah, I can share a little bit more about the last two items on this slide. So University and Student Services is Tulane's official vendor for Pottery Barn Dorm. I'm sure folks are familiar, but they have a lot of residence hall centric items, including twin XL sheets and decor and all of that. And that is they replaced our relationship with OCM. So folks have used on-campus marketing for linen kits before. University and Student Services is our new vendor for the linen packs and other room decor. And then just to add a little bit of context on the 6 packages, if folks had students arrive as a new student last year, they may remember that we required people to ship belongings to campus ahead of time. As you can imagine, like, students shipped a lot of things. We had some students who were shipping upwards of 30 boxes to their room. And not only is that very difficult to manage logistics of 4,000 students sending tens and tens of boxes to their room, it also makes for not the best move-in experience for the roommate of the student who sent 30 boxes to campus. It makes it really difficult to manage their move-in as well. And Jay's going to talk about more, but I really want to emphasize that, we're not trying to nickel and dime folks. We're trying to provide a really good service of getting boxes in the room, but also start to introduce some limits so that we're not making it an overwhelming experience for the folks trying to get packages to rooms and for other students moving in to the residence halls. Okay, Jay, I'll be quiet now.
Okay. You can go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay, so to that effect, we are encouraging students this year to try to consolidate items. I know students will tend to order a lot of items from Amazon or other retailers. The thing with that is that they come in a lot. Typically, you may order several things, but they generally don't all come in one big box because they ship from different warehouses and things like that. So one of the things we're encouraging is that you might want to start ordering those things and have them sent home. That way you can kind of consolidate them into one box and not have quite as many boxes from all over. So that's one of the things we are encouraging. We are recommending shipping again via our FedEx ground service, which is Tulane's preferred shipper. We have some special arrangements with them as far as getting those packages to campus and to our temporary staging areas and so forth. So we do encourage you to use that service. And just remember that the ship to address will be provided in that packet, and that will be the address that you use for that shipping window. And then during that, and then slightly after that shipping window, there'll be about a week or so while we're placing those packages in rooms that we're going to not kind of shut down receiving things. And then about a week after that, right around the first week of August, then we'll kind of reopen that again, and you can then ship other things after the fact that that the student will be able to pick up on move-in day. Yes. So as far as shipping limits, some of these items, these are some things we're kind of trying to stress, particularly because of size issues and so forth. We ask that packages, boxes not be any larger than 20 by 20 by 20. I mean, that's not an absolute, but keep it fairly close to that, because the larger the boxes get, they tend to get overweighted, and they're not handled very well in transit, and they will split open. Things could fall out in transit and so forth. So that's why we advise you to try to keep it to that size. Also, 50 pounds is a pretty good limit, because the more you stuff in these boxes, the heavier they get, and that just tends them to split open. Rugs we receive a lot of rugs. I know a lot of students like to have rugs in their room, but we're telling you to make sure that you keep it to 5 foot by 7 feet. I think that's a good standard size. I think we had a lot of issues last year where people bought things that were just too big for the room, and then it's a big process to get it in the room, and then they've got to drag it back to mail services so they can return it. So we're limiting it to keep it 5x7. TVs larger than 50 inches. You know, some of these rooms, they're really not that big. So 50 inches is plenty of TV. And so we're also limiting furniture. All the rooms are completely furnished. And so we're trying to, you know, cut back on some of these extra items like futons and recliners and other large miscellaneous furniture items, because again, that causes a problem with storage and so forth. And then of course you're dealt with at the end of the year having to figure out what to do with all of this stuff. Also microwaves and refrigerators, we're not allowed to be shipped. Each room actually is provided with a microwave and refrigerator in the room. So some other little packing guidelines that we recommend you use heavy duty boxes for your shipping. Do not use moving boxes, these are the boxes that are typically sold from Home Depot, Lowe's, and U-Haul. They're a lower grade box. They're really designed for you to, if you're just moving it yourself in a car or something like that. They're not really designed to go through the UPS, FedEx shipping process. So those tend to be the ones that fall apart. One way you can tell how good a box is if you look at the bottom of the box, we have that kind of displayed. Every box will have a box certificate that gives you the limits of the weight that box is designed to carry. So that's something we advise you to kind of look at if you're choosing a box and figuring out how much weight you want. You want to make sure it stays kind of within those boundaries. We recommend that boxes be packed tightly, meaning get as much filler into the box so that things don't really move around. You also want to kind of keep the box tight at the top, because you know boxes will tend to get stacked up through the shipping process and then the staging process. And if you don't have enough things on top, then that allows the box to tend to get crushed. Apply tape evenly across flaps and make sure you're taping the top and bottoms of the box as well. Recommending you using plastic packing tape. Don't use duct tape or masking tape or any of those other types of tapes which really don't adhere well, and particularly down here don't work very well with our humidity. They tend to come open. So we ask you to, if you have breakables, if you can pack those in the manufacturer, that's best when possible, or if need be, wrap those things in some type of plastic bubble wrap or something like that, and to make sure there's plenty of cushioning and space around them in the box. Okay, so the shipping packet, like I talked to you about, that's going to come right in the beginning of July. It's just a little sample of what it's going to look like. It's going to be a 9x12 envelope with Tulane University mailing services, and it's going to have a bunch of information in there. More details on the shipping process and what to ship, how to pack, what are the guidelines, and so forth. It's also going to have a map and a calendar, which will help you to be able to determine when you need to ship your items based on where you are shipping from in the country. It's going to be based on FedEx's zone chart and the number of days it generally takes. And we kind of set up a calendar especially for you, so you can just look at your zone and you'll know when you need to get those items shipped by. The packet will also include labels that will be customized to your student. It will include the student's name and their 4-digit mail code. And these labels will help us to identify the student, which then links kind of to our system that pulls up their room number and so forth. And so we ask that you place these on all the boxes that you ship. We'll give you 6 labels as part of the kind of the package deal. The one label with the address would go on the top, and then 3 other labels would go on the sides. That just helps us to identify those. If you do decide to ship more boxes for the $10 fee. You can, of course, duplicate these labels and use them. We will give you 6 sets of actual peel and stick labels, but you can print others off and cut them as well. Like I said, this packet will also come in an email format, which makes it easier to just print those off if you need some more. Also, just keep in mind, these aren't prepaid shipping labels. You will still have to use a shipping service to get those to campus, but these are strictly assist us once they arrive, so we can stage them, sort them, and get them delivered to their rooms. Again, this is just a quick look at that FedEx transit map, and like I said, you'll be getting something a little bit more customized to you to kind of look at your zone and be able to see that with a calendar and know when the ideal time is to get those boxes shipped, so it makes it within our shipping window. So thank you, and turn it back to Jon.
And actually, Penny is going to come back here in a second and talk through some upcoming webinars.
Yes, so we already have a few questions. If you have some questions about things that weren't explained in the preceding presentation, then you can type those questions in and we'll try to get to as many of those as we can. While you're typing in questions, I'll just mention that please keep your questions to tonight's topic about move-in preparation. We have these upcoming webinars on different topics for the rest of the summer, and there may even be a couple more that are added later in July or early August. So we'll have the rescheduled accessibility at Tulane webinar that was supposed to happen last week. It'll be this Thursday. It says Tuesday. I apologize for that. And then one on dining services next week. The following week will be immunization compliance and COVID-19 vaccine requirement, which I think will be of interest to a number of you. And then in July, we'll have one on emergency preparedness and response, and how that is managed at Tulane. And one of the important topics there for many of you who are not in an area of the country that occasionally has hurricanes and that kind of severe weather. And that is where we will talk about the university's procedures for evacuation if severe weather calls for that. And then we'll have a few more as the summer goes on. So I will start looking through questions and asking those of Jon and Jay so that we can try to get to some of these. So Jon, could you explain the procedures for people who are not arriving by car, that they will need to park on campus? Some people may be arriving in shared car service or a taxi, or staying somewhere so close by they could walk. So can you explain that again?
Absolutely. So yeah, those folks will be able to walk up to that same check-in station. It will be very obvious. There will be housing and residence life tents and a check-in banner of some kind to identify where to go. It's in that same location that the cars are pulling up to is where folks will walk up and check in, essentially the same way, just not in a car, again, during their time slot.
Jon, do you recommend, if they are not driving a rental car or their own car, but are doing something where they're paying for that time while they're staying in line, is it better for them to be dropped off somewhere else and walk, or that line's going to move quickly enough that if you're in a taxi, it's going to be manageable?
The line should move quick enough. So we have some practice at doing this scanning check-in. Our average time for check-in was 38 seconds. So that should move cars relatively quickly. I don't expect someone in a car service would be waiting, longer than 5 to 10 minutes potentially to make it through that queue.
So there are a couple of questions from people who have check-in times that are later in the day. So like a 5 o'clock or a 5:30, that's their check-in time slot. Can you speak to how much time that'll provide them for getting everything moved in? If students have to be at a meeting at 8, this is one of the reasons why I suggested that you may want to you want to go out to eat off campus, you might want to do that the night before check-in. If you have one of these later, late afternoon check-in times, then you could just grab something quickly on campus. But can you give folks an idea of how that might proceed with your student meeting at 8?
I think, I would, of course, recommend taking advantage of the ship to room program and getting things that you don't want to carry yourself into the room ahead of time. It's the biggest reason we provide it is because it makes the rest of that move-in process so much easier than how we used to do it, which was pull up and unload all your stuff and carry all that stuff up to the room. This is just a much easier process for folks who take advantage of it. Let's run through a hypothetical scenario. So my check-in time slot is 5:30. I'm in line at around that time. It takes me about 5 minutes to go and actually get checked in and get my splash card and room key potentially. It takes me maybe another 5 minutes to go park in the parking structure, maybe another 10 to 20 minutes to get the stuff out of the vehicle and leisurely walk to my building. Maybe another 10 minutes to go up to my room and get into my room and discover all my stuff there ahead of time. That should leave plenty of time to start unpacking boxes and getting things set up. Maybe not everything in the room fully set up, but it would give you certainly a pretty good start with those couple of hours before that first 8 o'clock event. I know that I think there was some anxiety from folks who had the later time slots before, but I've not heard people found that they didn't have enough time to get settled before their student had to go on to the next activity.
And John, just so that we can be really clear with parents about the expectations, the parents really can't be going back and forth to the into the residence hall if they're not accompanied by their student, right? So I know that sometimes parents will say, well, can't we just finish it and do that for our student while they go to do other meetings? And that's really not possible. The resident has the access to the room and their guests have to be with them, have to be accompanied by the resident.
Correct, yeah, and there are security officers on the first floor who will enforce that policy.
So some parents have asked if they are still in town the next day, can they return the following day if they want to finish some things? And so could you talk to them about where they would need to park if they're going to do that? Because that's going to be different than move-in day, correct?
Correct. So they won't be able to park in the Duval parking structure because other folks will be moving in that day. Wearing my logistics hat, I would ideally, parents wouldn't come back for a second day because there are other folks who need to have their move-in day experience. But obviously, if you need to, you're welcome to go back, certainly, and help your student on campus potentially with other things that they need to do on campus. And if you did need to park, you would need to park on a location that is adjacent to campus, not in the Duval parking structure and not on campus because the vast majority of parking will be dedicated to other folks.
And folks, just so that you know, Tulane faculty and staff will not be parking on campus in order to clear out the Dival parking garage for you and that kind of thing. And so everything's really designed so that you can do everything on that one day. Yep. So, and there will even be activities for students who are moving in on one of those earlier days to give them other things to do and other chances to meet, other students and take advantage of things before new student orientation officially starts on the 19th. So, so just keep that in mind too, that students will want to be meeting each other and doing other things, other activities that will be provided for them. Other questions, I think that you had mentioned this already. I'm pretty sure that was on a slide. So the most freshman residence hall beds are twin XL. There are some, or all of Sharp are regular twin or some?
So we have updated our website. Sharp is the only building that has twin beds remaining. We have started a phased renovation project in Sharp Hall this summer. So there are some beds that will be, as a result of the renovation, be getting twin XL size beds as well. But those specific room numbers are on the Housing and Residence Life website. And so when students get their room assignments, their assignment email will actually also tell them their bed size in that message. The vast majority of students though do have twin XL. beds. That's our standard that will eventually finish renovating Sharp and reach that standard everywhere.
So Jay, here's a question for you. When you say free for shipping, does that mean the shipping costs like FedEx or free from FedEx to the room?
From once it's received, there's no charge for us to put that in the room for those first 6 boxes. Shipping, you would have to pay for through the carrier of your choice. We recommend FedEx, but if you prefer UPS, US Postal Service, whichever carrier you choose, you would have to pay the shipping cost from home to here.
So just a reminder that the residence hall rooms do have a micro fridge, which is a combination microwave, refrigerator, and the refrigerator has a small freezer section. So students cannot bring additional microwaves or small fridges. So we just want to be clear about that. The units that they have in the rooms that's included in the residence hall fee that you're already paying, and they fit within the parameters of the electricity capacity, correct, John?
Yes, they are all, they were all brand new last year. There's some new safety features in those units, like if there's smoke in the microwave, the whole unit turns off. And they also have some USB chargers and power outlets on the units as well now. So they're not your typical run-of-the-mill micro fridge. They're a specific university model.
So just some other, just to repeat or kind of clarify, that if people are away out of the country or not able to mail during that particular window that you've defined, and they'll have to bring everything in their car, there will not be volunteers or bins or any kind of transport other than what the student and their family can carry themselves, correct?
Correct.
And that is why John put a limit of the amount of luggage to move on move-in day. It was more of like what one person can feasibly manage on their own so that you're not going back and forth. So it's really more of a guideline and a rule of thumb and strong recommendation so that you try to get as many items as you can within those 6 boxes that you can have already pre-delivered to the room. So it's just so much more manageable, and also makes your student have a more realistic impression of what really actually fits in a residence hall room. And I'll just offer one other kind of tip, because we have people who are coming from all over the country. The thing about the weather in New Orleans also means that your student only needs to bring 1 season of clothing. They really won't need heavier, bulky, warm items for cold weather, really, until they come back after winter break. I mean, sometimes we get a little bit of chilly weather in late November or December before they leave, but that also, helps you kind of limit. They can swap out some clothes when they come home for the break over December, January. So help them kind of streamline what they're going to bring. Let's see, other questions. The link to the Pottery Barn program will be in the slides when I send you those slides. And then is it already on a website, Jay, right now, or it'll be sent, or John, or is it being emailed to students?
So it is. So you should shortly be receiving a letter in the mail that announces the program, but it's unss.com/Tulane is the main page that shows all the services that USS provides. That is linked in the slides, or is provided in the slides as well.
Someone asked about how the boxes that they unpack are disposed of. And so our staff from facility services who work with all the recycling will be managing things on those days. And there'll be designated places in each residence hall for you to put the recyclable boxes, correct?
Correct.
So, and we appreciate your helping with that so that we can just be mindful of all those things.
Can we talk about package drop-off?
Sure.
Jay, do you want to share more about that for folks who are local?
Yeah, for folks who are local, we will be accepting a package. We will be setting up a package drop-off location. It'll be at one of our off-campus warehouses where we're kind of staging a lot of the packages and so forth. It'll probably run that second week of that move-in period, and we'll send out some more information about that in early July, where you'll be able to register for a time slot similarly, and you'll be able to come and bring things. We'll ask that those things be boxed, though, not like loose items, lamps and things of that nature. Everything should still be in a box as if you're shipping it. And then the 6-box limit would still apply, or if you choose to do more than that, the fees would kick in. So look for more information on that in early July as the shipping packets go out.
So Jay, here's a question for you. Do students ship bicycles to campus?
Yes, we can accept a bicycle. Generally, you want to go through a bike shop because they'll be able to help do the disassembly on a standard bike box where they kind of take the pedals off, and there's a basic way that they pack those, and you can ship those through FedEx, through UPS, whoever, and we do accept those for students because bike travel is very popular on campus.
So as a biker, an avid biker myself, I would highly, highly, highly recommend your student going to a local bike shop to get their bike and not buying something online to ship, because the cost to ship something and then have somebody else assemble it is going to negate the savings you got from buying something online. There are several bike stores very close to campus who have like a wide range of bikes that are available. And frankly, the bike you want to ride in New Orleans is very different than the bike you want to ride in some of the cities where you're from. So if possible, I would highly recommend waiting and getting a bike when students get to campus. Again, there are tons of available stores around campus who would love to have that business and it would know what to recommend.
I heartily agree with that, because unless your student bikes all the time everywhere now, I think it's good for them to kind of get here and kind of see what their habits are like and see what they really are interested in, and see if that's still something that they want, as a way to get around, and then buy local, just to, kind of save on that extra headache about shipping it here. And there are oftentimes older students who might want to sell their bikes that they have, and they could buy a used bike. And John didn't say it specifically, but the roads here have a lot of potholes, and so you may not want the fanciest, most expensive bike. You might want something that's just very utilitarian to get them around. So I would say that's a good thing to just wait on. So one question is, will there be triple rooms this year? And so, John, do you want to answer that?
Yes, so there will be some expanded capacity spaces. Students have been able to preference a triple room as part of their housing application. And if that's part of their preferences, that they believe they can also roommate group with a third person potentially. So yes, there will be some expanded spaces in the fall.
So John, with people who are moving in, earlier in the day, who might want to unpack and then leave to go shop and come back, will they be able to come back through the queue and park in the Diebold garage, or how should they manage that return to campus?
They won't be able to come back in the queue, but there will be a different way to get in to that parking structure.
Okay. And that'll be clear that day when they arrive. They'll be able to.
Correct.
Okay. Yep. Let's see. So there is a company that Tulane works with for summer storage. So somebody's already asking about that, because they said it might affect how much they bring with them or pack. And so later in the spring, there'll be an announcement going out from Housing and Residence Life about a vetted vendor that is the recommended vendor that has the ability to come to campus, take students' belongings, store them over summer, and bring them back the next fall.
Yeah, and I can share a little bit about that now, if it helps this parent. That vendor is University and Student Services. They handle our logistics of getting boxes in rooms, both when the student is new and taking those boxes out for summer storage. And then as part of our summer storage program for returning students, we also pre-deliver their summer storage boxes ahead of their arrival. So if there are any returning student parents on this call and your student use summer storage through USS, their boxes are also part of this pre-delivery program. Again, to help make their move-in process as easy as possible. They're not waiting on a box delivery appointment after they've arrived. It is the same vendor.
So there are several people asking if we don't want to use the shipping service, can we just bring everything with us? I think the thing to remember is that then you have to carry all of that from your vehicle to the student's room on your own. So the ship to room is to try to eliminate some of that back and forth and that heavy lifting and all of that to make it easier for you. You can choose not to use that service, but we do not have the former system of having other vehicles and carts and things like that. So weigh everything and decide what's best for you and your family to do. And remember how hot it is, or you may not have been here before. So please remember that it is very hot and humid in August in New Orleans. Think about how you want to spend your time and energy.
And it's not lost on any of us that shipping is expensive. So I don't want to be, not recognize that. There are things to do when you're making purchases if you want to leverage retailer lower shipping rates and not pre-pack and ship. Of course, we would recommend, like, the easiest thing to do is to ship things home first, package those in boxes and ship them yourself. But let's say you have a small amount of things to purchase. Some strategies to use when shopping at retailers are to consolidate into a low number of orders so that when they ship, they can consolidate those items into a smaller number of packages. I know Amazon has an option to ship things at the same time and consolidate into fewer packages. So it's not impossible to do it. It's just not the most recommended way to get those boxes here if you want to pay attention to how many boxes you're shipping to campus.
Jay, could you just restate how and when families would have things sent to campus that they are ordering from different vendors? Do those have to arrive in that same window for the pre-delivery or not?
Yes, if they would like them to be pre-placed in their room, then yes, they would have to arrive during that same time window. And those boxes would also go into that process to get those pre-placed in the room. If things that arrive after that window, then we would have available, the student would still get a notification that they have a package to pick up, and it will either be at our mail center pickup location, or it may be in a parcel locker located in the LBC, depending on the size, of course, of those packages. And that's kind of the process that goes on for the rest of the year as the student needs to order things, or you're sending things from home, care packages or whatever. But like I said, anything that comes in that shipping window, that's going to get placed in the room, unless it's a very small package. That's one thing. Really small packages, like things that come in kind of padded envelopes and things of that nature, those aren't going to go directly to the rooms just because they're so small, and the whole process that they would tend to get lost. So we're going to have those in the mail center or in a parcel locker for the students if that does arrive during that window or whatever. And so that way it doesn't count against you as an extra box, and you're just paying for an envelope. So we don't want to penalize anybody that way. So we're going to kind of handle those in a slightly different way.
So a clarification, Jay, about the mailing labels. They are pre-printed, not prepaid.
Pre-printed, yes. They would be pre-printed, not prepaid.
And if you are away from home and you're not there to receive that, please remember the student is getting an email with the exact same information that comes hard copy to your home in the mailed packet. So there will be attachments to the email that has the mailing labels. So you could print them yourself.
Correct.
Your student's getting it two different ways. You're getting a physical hard copy set with instructions and mailing labels, And the same information is going to them electronically through their Tulane email account. If you're away from your residence, you would still be able to access that through email. So another question about the sheets. So this person asked, should we just go ahead and get Twin XL? You could, because the Twin XL is, if you need to buy them earlier than they're going to receive their room assignments, a Twin XL will fit around a regular twin size mattress. It's just going to be a little bit loose or bulky. But one person did recognize that in some earlier, maybe a checklist, it said that room assignments would go out mid-July, but Housing and Residence Life is sending those earlier so that you have that information. You can look up the information on their website with the different dimensions of the rooms and those kinds of things so that you can make those decisions and plan your shipping things within that ideal window, that designated window to get things here in time for the delivery to room.
And I saw another question about mattress toppers. Just so that y'all know, we moved to a new mattress standard a couple of years ago. And so our mattresses are double-sided memory foam mattresses, with one side is a cool gel memory foam and one side is a more firm foam. So I find that most students are able to use those mattresses and be comfortable without adding on a mattress topper and shipping that to campus and then inevitably tossing that in a landfill when they're done in their room. So if possible, and students can wait to actually use the mattress before ordering a topper, that would be preferable.
Yes, that's one less thing you have to ship. But if they absolutely need it, it'll be easier to order 2 weeks down the line after they move in. So another question, just for a clarification again. So you will be parking in the parking garage and walking to your student's residence hall. There is not parking near the residence hall. And so that, again, we're trying to just save you steps by recommending that you pack light for whatever you're going to bring with you that you physically carry, and strategically use those boxes that can be pre-delivered to the rooms. If you haven't had a chance to visit our campus already, we can just tell you that it's a very compact, pedestrian-oriented campus. There are not vast parking lots right in front of every single residence hall. And so this way that we're managing the traffic flow and the parking and everything is designed to suit our campus's dynamics and make it easier for you. So that's why these different procedures and arrangements are in place. So yes, you would be able to leave to go do that shopping. It's just that you won't be able to get back into the queue to park. You'll just have to follow directions to enter the garage from a different area, and that information will be clear when you arrive. And some people may choose to do some of that shopping and arranging things on the day after move-in if you're planning to stay that way, stay that long. The activities that would be happening for students on those subsequent days. So if your student moves in on Sunday, those other days until new student orientation starts, on Thursday, they're moving in Monday, Tuesday, whatever, then there will be some things offered for them. They won't be as required kind of activities as the first night activities. The thing that they will do, that it's really important that you make sure your student is back at 8 o'clock on their move-in day, is because that's when they will meet the upper class student who's called their wave leader. They're the upper class student who's chosen in this volunteer role to assist new students during this whole process for the first week or a week and a half or so. So it's really important that they go to that meeting, they kind of have that guidance from that student, and they start to meet the other people in their new student orientation group. But you really don't want them to miss that and the activity that follows that, because it really does welcome them to campus and help them start making those connections and connects them with somebody who can be their guide, for questions that pop up, in those first couple of weeks. So, if you are still, in town that next morning and part of that day to finish some shopping or, helping some more with getting their room set up, and then that's okay. But just make sure they don't miss that that evening of activities. Although I really do think that you can get everything set up in the amount of time that you have, and students like to do a lot of that themselves. So I know that for a lot of parents, it's really important to you that you want to help them do that and have sort of that picture perfect look at the room at the end of the day. But students also want some freedom to continue to kind of make it their own over the next few weeks. So let's see. John, are there dimensions on the website for the under bed space?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and I can say here, so the beds are roughly 36 by 80 is the surface dimensions. Then there's about 30 inches of space underneath a bed when it is adjusted to its highest position. All of our beds are adjustable height. So it depends on how high they want the bed. That'll determine the storage space underneath.
Okay, so say that one more time. How many inches?
30 inches.
Okay.
But all that information is, there are detailed dimensions on our website.
Yep. And 360-degree videos of what it's an example room and that residence hall looks like.
Correct.
So please refer to that. There's a lot of good information. So once your student gets their assignment, go to the website, look for the residence hall page on that on the website, and look through all those dimensions and photos. How we're doing on time. So we are running out of time. So I'll answer one of these. Will there be food service for the students, their move-in night and the rest of the week? And yes, so their meal plan will begin, will be active when they get to campus. So Jay and John, do you have any last suggestions or advice you want to offer, or any answers to questions that you want to?
I think the last thing that I'll say is that Housing and Residence Life will continue to add some more context to our website, and our plan is to continue to send messages to students and then copy the parent emails that we have to alert you when we've added a significant amount to our website. So please be on the lookout for those messages. The vast majority of questions that folks have can be found on our website, but if you can't find something, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Again, our email address is housing@tulane.edu. We're happy to help answer any questions you have.
Yeah, same here with mail. They can reach out to us at mailbox@tulane.edu, and we'd be glad to answer any questions, or if you have special needs or concerns, yeah, we're here to help too. So just let us know what you need.
And I'll just remind you that the students receive a set of e-newsletters that are called Navigator e-newsletters, and they come out twice a month. So usually the 1st or very close to the 1st, and the 15th. I think it went out yesterday. The Navigator actually went out on the 14th. And so more detail will be added to the new student orientation schedule. It'll also mention what those other activities are for the people who arrive on some of the earlier move-in days. And the 8 o'clock event with their wave leader is not a dinner. So they would need to get a meal on their own. If they have a later check-in time, then they may just want to eat on campus. So, that'll be convenient for them and easy and fast. So just work with your student to make sure they're reading their Tulane email, that you look together at the emails that you get from my office, the Parents as Partners e-newsletters, and their Navigator e-newsletters, and then especially any emails that they get in between, because other departments will be sending them information. And as John said and Jay said, there will be some more details added. So it's just very important for them to keep up with that. And I know that right now, while many of them are still in high school, or they're starting to have a lot of their graduation ceremonies and end of their high school celebrations, it's probably hard for them to tune into this and focus on it. But I think soon, especially if you will help guide them, Let them be in charge, but prompt them and do it together. Try not to do it for them. You look at it together and then help them complete the tasks, but you'll help them stay on target. I think that that's the best way to approach this and help your student learn to manage more of this on their own. So we completely understand that the dynamics of that high school to college summer are complicated. So we're hoping that we're giving you some guidance to help support your student and help you all stay on track with this pretty big event in the life of your family, and especially in your student and going to college. So you will, in a few days, you'll get an email with these slides and a link to the recording so that if you feel like you missed something, you can go back and review that and capture that information. So we're going to close here now. If you have a final comment that you'd like to make, you can do that, or you're always welcome to send feedback about the webinars to parents@tulane.edu, and I'll share that feedback with my campus partners, and we appreciate getting that feedback. It helps us refine these every year. And so some of the things that you might appreciate are things that were suggested by parents years ago. So we like to continue the conversation with you and help make sure that you feel supported and informed. So I would just like to thank Jon and Jay for providing all of this information, and we'll say goodnight now. Thank you, everyone.